For 7 years, a war has been going on in eastern Ukraine, and now Russia is accused by the West of threatening an invasion. It all goes to show that existing peace deals are not working. So why have those agreements failed, and is a peaceful solution possible? Minsk agreements. Since war in the east broke out in April 2014, more than 14,000 people have died. A deal was reached in 2015 between Ukraine then President Petro Poroshenko and Russia's Vladimir Putin. That became part of what is now collectively called the Minsk Agreement. They outlined a plan of how to end the conflict between Ukraine and Russian-backed separatists in the troubled region in eastern Ukraine known as the Donbas. There have since been more than 20 attempts to have a ceasefire, according to Ambassador Mikko Kinunev, special Ukraine representative of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe (OSCE). None lasted long, and soldiers are still being killed on the front line. His organization is part of a trilateral contract group (TCG) with Russia and Ukraine, created to implement the Minsk Agreement. The ambassador believes a peaceful solution could work provided there is a political will, but that seems unlikely now given the current talk of a possible invasion and of Russia's red line in reaching a deal. The other hope for a solution is the nomadic format, the platform for dialogue between France, Germany, Russia and Ukraine. European leaders want Russia and Ukraine to negotiate the nomadic format with Germany and France. Russia wants to talk directly to the United States instead, calling for security guarantees from NATO. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky says he will welcome a more US role, but perhaps in parallel. Stumbling block for Russia and Ukraine. There are fundamental differences in the Russian and Ukrainian positions, but the major disputes center on a political settlement for the Donbas. The two countries' irreconcilable views on the future of the war-torn area in eastern Ukraine, say Duncan Allen, an associate of fellow at Chatham House. Ukraine wants to restore its sovereignty and territorial integrity, while Russia, he believes, wants to force the authorities in Kiev to grant far-reaching autonomy or so-called special status to eastern Ukraine. But that will turn those territories into quasi-independent mini-states controlled by Russia and enable Moscow to have a profound influence on Ukraine's foreign and domestic policies, Mr. Allen says. The government in Kyiv argues that special status for the rebel-controlled area of eastern Ukraine is already incorporated into the nationwide decentralization reform. Russian-backed separatists have declared the area they control independent republic. Russia, however, accused Ukraine of derailing the peace process by failing to introduce that special status as well as holding local elections as required by the Minsk Agreement. It argues Western military assistance for Ukraine threatens its security and wants formal commitment, barring NATO expansion eastward. Finding common ground. For more than 4 years, Martin Sadiq acted as OSCE mediator between the two sides in the trilateral contact group. He said it is hard to reach common ground if one side wants to have more than is written in the agreement, adding that the Minsk Accord points to a solution on the special status of the Donbas within the decentralization of Ukraine. The Russian side always reiterates that the certain area of Donetsk and Luhansk region should have autonomy, but the word autonomy does not figure in the Minsk Agreement, he added, handing back Ukraine's border. Another major stumbling block is how to implement these political provisions. Moscow argued that the Minsk Agreement clearly states the following steps: local elections and a political settlement must happen before Ukraine regains full control of its border with Russia. Since the conflict broke out in 2014, Ukraine has had no access to that part of its border, and Kyiv accuses Moscow of using it to send Russian troops and equipment to support separatist forces. That is why Ukraine insists it should regain control of the frontier before local elections are held. Otherwise, local elections will be held under Russian pressure in the condition of the Russian occupation, says Oleksandr Meresko, deputy head of the Ukrainian delegation at the Trilateral Contact Group. Under the Minsk agreement, election must be held according to Ukrainian law, and that is possible if only they control the border, he insists. Mr. Sergey says Russian negotiators and representatives of the so-called Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic have avoided discussing the border handover to a trilateral group. But we have always argued that the Minsk agreements are a whole package and one cannot negotiate it like cutting a salami. The Russian side has not responded to the BBC's query, but earlier this year, Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov warned there would be slaughter if Ukraine were allowed to regain control of eastern Ukraine, including the border, before local elections were held. No middle way. So is it possible to bridge these two positions in a way that is acceptable to both sides? Duncan Allen says no, because the view of Ukraine's sovereignty are incompatible. In other words, Ukraine is either sovereign, which is Ukraine's position, or it's not sovereign, not fully sovereign, and that's Russia's position. And there's really no middle way between those two positions. Russia's latest demand to prevent Ukraine joining NATO are seen as yet another attempt to limit Ukraine's sovereignty, even if the United States was to take part in talks. The same incompatible position will be there. However, Ambassador Sergey believes compromise is possible, and that means it's a viable solution to end the conflict. But if there is a political will, and that there is something Russia and Ukraine accuse each other of not having. Nevertheless, they all agree it is important to continue the dialogue within the existing formats. The alternative is something far more dangerous, says Mr. Allen.